The space under the stairs in my barn works great for storing my welders. I thought it'd be a good idea to build a door for it that would protect them a little bit, and that I could also lock up at the end of the day. My TIG welder has a handle on the back of it, which makes it just a little bit too long. So before I wall up the inside, I needed to change the framing just a little bit to give me some more room. I hammered in some nail plates over the electrical. It always seems so obvious where the wires are until the second you get the sheathing in place and you start to second guess yourself. After a little bit of measure once, cut twice, I got the back piece of plywood up and fastened in place. And then I kept working outward. There was a little bit of a gap between these two pieces. I was able to back the screws out and hammer in some shims from the top that closed it up nicely. I always build stuff way too heavy because I never learn, and I knew this door was going to be no exception. So I needed a sturdy jamb to support the weight. And it needed to be fairly wide to cover the edges of the tin. I drilled and countersunk holes for the screws. I went back and forth on whether to weld this on the table or weld it in place. I figured the only way to get a perfect fit was to at least tack it in place, and then I could pull it out and finish welding it on the table. I always get nervous running long welds on pieces of metal that are backed by wood, so it was nice getting it up on the table where nothing's going to catch fire. I was really happy with how it fit. It was nice and snug. I fastened it with just a couple screws. I figured it would be coming back out again at some point. I got some square tubing to match the opening of the door, aiming to give myself an 1/8 of an inch clearance. I TIG welded this so it'd be nice and clean. Seemed like it was going to work. I wanted a lock on the door that I could quickly and easily get into, so I picked up a deadbolt with an electronic keypad. I needed to build a little box on the side of the door to house it. I cut open the inside of the tubing, and I also cut out a space for the deadbolt latch, so it'll sit flush with the outside of the door. I learned that this process is much easier on wood doors, where you can just grab your chisel and notch it out. I cut a small bracket that the latch will bolt to, and welded it recessed inside the tube. Then I enclosed the rest of the box and blended it in with the door frame. I left a 1/2 inch of clearance at the bottom of the door, so I grabbed a couple nuts to use as spacers, bringing the door up to the right height. And carefully tacked the hinges on to both the door and the jamb. Welding on hinges is always stressful for me for some reason. I thought I for sure was going to rub somewhere and need some adjustment, but I guess I got super lucky and it opened and closed clean. So I welded the hinges solid. After I marked the location of the deadbolt, I pulled the door back off the hinges and took the frame out. The door has tight enough tolerances that it can only come off the hinges if it's all the way open. I gave a little clear coat to the frame since it was ready to go back on for the final time. I welded a strike plate to the door. And then cut some metal backing and welded it on as well. Next, I thought I would cut out some old barn boards to fill in the inside of the door. But before I do that, I want to tell you about the sponsor of this video, Skillshare. It's so easy for me to promote and talk about Skillshare because it's a service I've used and recommended to other people a lot. Skillshare is an online learning community with so much to explore, build projects to create, and some of the most interesting and passionate creators out there guiding you along the way and inflaming your creativity. Some of my favorite classes have been on photography and 3D modeling software, which I've learned a ton from and helped me develop skills that I use every day. I even love watching classes on subjects that I'm not very familiar with, like painting and illustration, because it gives me new ideas and challenges me to try new methods on the projects I'm working on. A couple classes I recommend in particular are with Aaron Draplin, a really talented and entertaining graphic designer, and a class on video editing with Oliver Estralago. Skillshare is very affordable, and an annual subscription is less than $10. Click the link in the description to get 2 free months of premium membership and start to explore your creativity. I can't recommend Skillshare enough. Thanks for your support, Skillshare. I ripped a couple old barn boards down on the table saw and then cut them to length on the miter saw. One of them needed to be notched out to fit around the lock. I think Drake's turning into an old man. He enjoys just sitting around these days and looking out into the world, contemplating life. I wasn't sure if wood glue was a good idea or not, but I ended up using a small amount on the joints. I used carriage bolts along the top and the bottom to hold everything tight against the metal backing. I really wanted to put some kind of design into the door, and when trying to figure out what it should be, I realized that my alma mater has zero presence in the barn. I cut out the pieces for a Coug Head on the plasma table, and then carried the door over to the routing table to pocket out the same shape, hopefully letting the metal sit recessed in the wood. After I got the door squared up with the X and Y axis, I carefully zeroed on the corner and hit start on the program to pocket the Washington State logo 1/16 of an inch deep into the wood. This wasn't quite deep enough. It was just skimming over the top in places. So I lowered the Z-axis a smidge and ran it again, which did the trick. The small corner piece fit perfect, but the bigger ones were a little too tight. I thought this might happen. I was kind of guessing a little bit on the tolerances. I ran another program to take 2/100ths of an inch off around the perimeter, which was just right for the rest of the pieces. I used some all-purpose construction adhesive to glue them in place. Hopefully this works. I don't think it'll take too much to hold them in place. And then the door was ready to go on for the last time. Which I was very happy about, because this thing keeps getting heavier and heavier every time I move it. And I changed the code after this video, so don't even think about it.